I'm going to talk to you about why we should all start thinking about testing for the mobile experience and designing for the mobile experience. I'm a senior user researcher at Government Digital Service. I have collaborated with Crown Commercial Service as well. Okay. Normally so first of all, GDS, Government Digital Service, is part of a cabinet office. We work with all departments and organizations across government to lead digital transformation. We deliver things such as standards, the design system that you heard about, we're guilty of that, guidance as well, and it's all to make it easy for departments to produce excellent digital services. This is one of the first things that we created. This is gov.uk, which is a single domain for all the UK government. It's the home of all government information and services. It has been launched in January 2012. Prior to this, every single department within the UK had its own website. So that's quite a lot of websites, considering the agencies and the arm's length organizations. There were literally hundreds of them, all very different, and we replaced them with this one. Most of my time at GDS, I spent working on improving gov.uk. The websites provide itself the single point of access to government services in the UK, and every week millions of people are visiting it in order to do very complex tasks sometimes. Some of them are quite life-changing, but completing a task involves finding that information, reading it, understanding it, going through transactions as well. And people need to do all this in the right order at the right time. However, the content on gov.uk is very diverse. Here's an overview of our topic taxonomy that has been created to host the wide breadth of content that we host on gov.uk. Gov.uk provides information on things like applying for a passport, to guides like this one for the public sector, people that are interested, like professionals that are interested on start to apply artificial intelligence. So since we're talking about squirrels, we've got 102 pages that are referring to squirrels, including things like applications for selling a squirrel, or health risk assessment that squirrels are posing to the UK population, to even things like air accident investigation reports about squirrel helicopter. So squirrels, it is a thing, yes. However, let's go back to the serious bit. Yes, because it is the government. So when I started about 2.5 years ago at gov.uk, there was consensus on the idea that people do important things using a desktop computer and the trivial task using a mobile phone. It all made sense to me, especially that I remember the amount of time when I was sitting with my husband and planning a holiday, for instance, and he was just sitting on the couch looking at his phone, and the digital savvy person in him, he was like comfortable booking a flight to hotels or everything just from his mobile phone. While me, I was a bit like, this is a serious. Let's try to go to our laptops and plan our trip, right? So that meant this idea for the people working at GDS meant that our perception was that the content that we're producing was going to be consumed most likely by people sitting in front of a computer, or in front of a laptop or a desktop computer, not necessarily a mobile phone. Even our data was indicating that apart from Christmas time, so you can see in December, majority of people at this time were still interacting with gov.uk from a desktop. The tablet interaction has been pretty constant. However, this year we observed a change. There's been a shift, which is that since January this year, mobile phone interactions, the journeys, have overtaken, and the trend's been pretty constant, the desktop ones. Zooming out and looking, worldwide, what's happening in terms of how people are interacting with, going through the internet using mobiles versus desktops, is since 2017 that mobile phones have overtaken worldwide the desktop journeys. Even in the UK, the Office of National Statistics is showing how most people are accessing the internet now on the go, so through the mobile phones. And let's admit it, how many of you actually have either your phone in your hands now or right in front of you? It's almost like all of you. Okay, interesting. What does this mean to us? Well, it means that, especially for people like Alaric, the designer, it means that we just start thinking about designing for the mobile experience. For user researchers, it means that we need to test mobile experience. So, I'm going to talk you through the steps that I took when I was working with a team of content designers when we were looking at universal credit pages, and universal credit is benefits that are being offered to people in the UK, and they are for both people that are in work or out of work. And what we've done at the time was that we knew that compared to any other pages, so this was in October, it wasn't yet when we saw that shift in our performance data, but we knew that out of all the pages that we have on gov.uk, things related to immigration and benefits are more likely to be accessed through a mobile device. So we worked with a performance analyst that got the data for us in terms of how people are accessing those pages. Our performance analyst also looked at what are the top 5 common landing pages that people are visiting, that people are accessing as they're going through universal credit content. And they also identify that, yes, a lot of people are using their mobile phones when are accessing those pages. This gave the team an indication of how people currently are accessing the content. And so with this knowledge, the content team has started to think more about how the content is going to look on the website. So they started to think more about the length of those pages and how people are going to be able to interact with them. On gov.uk, most of the content designers are likely to create content from a desktop and review it also on a desktop. However, for the universal credit work, the content designers decide to review all the prototypes in a mobile format. They also thought about reducing the length of the pages so that end users will not need to scroll through lengthy pages. It's kind of like how it will look like on a mobile phone. I also noticed that it's not just content designers that are starting to adjust this, but also interaction designers are starting to think about how people are using more of the mobile devices. Here is an example of how Jeremy Yan, an interaction designer on gov.uk, has started to sketch search on gov.uk. The pink post-it notes are actually from user research that was done through pop-up research on how the prototype was performing. The other thing that we should start thinking about, conducting usability testing accordingly. Within user-centered design approach, this recommends that the prototypes need to be tested in the context of use. Therefore, we need to conduct those tests using mobile devices if the data is showing us that people are likely to access that content from a mobile device. So for me, when I was working on the universal credit team, I conducted all the sessions, all the 13 research sessions, on a mobile device. I was talking with colleagues of mine on Gov.uk, other user researchers, and even for them, apart from another test that we've done within 2.5 years, we've done just one more test where the research was done on mobile device, and that was in order to test a pattern. So even within our organization, this means that we had to do that shift to start thinking more about the mobile experience. Here is the example of how the prototype for the universal credit looks like on desktop versus digital. We use the step-by-step pattern, and as you can see on the desktop, the pattern, the step-by-step pattern can be accessed from the side of the screen, while on a mobile device, it appears just at the bottom of the page. And what that meant is that in the user research sessions, people were confusing the previous and next button. They were expecting them that will take them to the next step, when in reality it was just taking them to the next chapter within a guide. So it's something that now the team can work on to improve those pages. So to summarize, what I would invite you to do is to, first of all, understand the end user's behavior within the context of what you're designing. And you can do this by trying to get the existing data, then adjust the design approach, and conduct the studies, the user research on mobile devices. Thank you.